You actually believed I was going to marry her." David's voice had gone flat. All the warmth drained out like someone had flipped a switch. He was looking at me, not Claire, and his eyes were different now. Cold, assessing, the way you'd look at a problem you needed to solve. We were standing in the country club's garden pavilion, surrounded by white roses and fairy lights and 100 engagement party guests who had gone silent. The woman who'd introduced herself as Jennifer was still there, 5 feet away, her face pale but determined. My daughter was gripping my arm so hard I'd have bruises the next day. "Mom," Claire whispered. Just that one word, but I heard everything in it. The confusion, the hope that this was somehow a mistake, the beginning of understanding that it wasn't. I should have known something was wrong the day he couldn't remember which hospital his wife had supposedly died in. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how we got there, to that pavilion, that moment, that flatness in his voice that told us everything we'd believed for 8 months had been a performance. You need to understand why a 62-year-old former English teacher and her 33-year-old accountant daughter were standing there feeling like the ground had opened up beneath us. You need to understand how good he was. Claire met David in February at a professional development conference in the city. She came home that Sunday evening with Chinese takeout and that particular glow that mothers learn to recognize. Not infatuation exactly, Claire was too practical for that. More like possibility. "There was this speaker," she said, unpacking containers at my kitchen table. "He did a session on ethical leadership in financial services. Mom, he was actually interesting. Like genuinely thoughtful, not just corporate buzzwords." "And single?" I asked, because I'm her mother and I know when to read between the lines. She blushed. "Widowed, actually. 2 years. He mentioned it during the Q&A when someone asked about work-life balance. She paused, chopsticks halfway to her mouth. He said something about how losing his wife taught him that balance isn't something you find, it's something you choose every day. It was, I don't know, real. I should have asked more questions then. What conference organizer puts a 42-year-old man who's been widowed for 2 years on a panel about work-life balance? But I was focused on my daughter's face, on the hope there. Claire had been single for 3 years since her last serious relationship ended. She'd thrown herself into work, into her CPA exam, into helping me sort through her father's things after he passed. She deserved something good. "Did you get his number?" I asked. "Better," she grinned. "He got mine." He called her that Tuesday. They had coffee on Thursday, dinner the following week. By March, she was mentioning him every time we talked. "David did this. David said that. David thinks I should consider the corporate position. David makes this incredible pasta carbonara. Bring him to Sunday dinner," I finally said. "I want to meet this paragon." "Mom," but she was smiling. "Don't interrogate him, please." "I never interrogate." I did, of course. It's a mother's job. But I try to be subtle about it. He arrived at my door the following Sunday with a bouquet of tulips, not roses, which would have been trying too hard, and a bottle of wine that was nice without being showy. He was handsome in an approachable way, brown hair starting to gray at the temples, good suit, loosened tie, warm smile that reached his eyes. "Mrs. Patterson," he said, extending his hand. "I've heard so much about you. Claire says you were an English teacher for 30 years? Maggie, please. And 32 years, but who's counting?" I shook his hand. Firm grip, but not aggressive. "Come in." Fair warning. I made pot roast, which means you're either about to love me or realize my daughter has been lying about my cooking skills. He laughed. "I'm sure it's wonderful. That's what people say right before they discover I tend to overcook meat. I read somewhere that it's safer that way, and 40 years of food safety panic is hard to unlearn." I led him toward the kitchen. "Claire tells me you're in financial consulting?" "Wealth management, technically." He set the wine on the counter while Claire got glasses. "I help families navigate estate planning mostly. Make sure their legacy ends up where they want it to go." "Noble work," I said. "Or lucrative, depending on your perspective." "Mom," Claire said, but David was still smiling. Both, honestly, he said. I won't pretend it's not well paid. But after Sarah died, my wife, I realized how much stress comes from not having your affairs in order. She had a small life insurance policy I didn't even know about. It showed up 6 months after her funeral. The company had sent the paperwork to her old office address. He paused, and something genuine crossed his face. Pain, but managed. It's ridiculous that I found out my wife wanted to take care of me from a forwarded envelope. I don't want other families to go through that. And there it was. The wound that made him real. The vulnerability that made you want to lean in, to trust. I should have wondered why he was so comfortable sharing that story with a stranger. Why the pain looked so practiced. But I was watching Claire watch him, and I was thinking, this one might actually be good for her. The dinner went well. He asked about my teaching career. He listened when I talked about my book club. He helped Claire clear plates without being asked. When I mentioned my ongoing battle with my phone's operating system, the latest update had hidden all my email folders in some kind of digital witness protection program. He didn't condescend. I'm pretty sure they change it deliberately, he said. Keep us all dependent on the grandkids for tech support. Guaranteed employment for Generation Z. I'd hire them if I could figure out how to text them, I said. Half the time I accidentally video call people when I'm trying to text. Nothing says good morning like your former colleague seeing you in a bathrobe at 7 a.m. He laughed. Claire laughed. I felt that small, warm glow that comes from making people comfortable in your home. From getting it right. 3 months in, he met Claire's friends. 6 months in, he started keeping clothes at her apartment. By July, he was part of our routine. Sunday dinners, holiday planning, the occasional weeknight when he'd stop by my place with takeout if Claire was working late. I hope this isn't weird, he said once, sitting at my kitchen island with Thai food containers between us, just showing up when Claire's not here. You bring food, I said. That's never weird. That's civilization. He smiled. Sarah's mom used to say the same thing. We'd have dinner at her place every Thursday. I miss that. The family part of it. No family of your own? I asked. I mean, besides Sarah's? Not really. My parents passed when I was in my 20s. Car accident. I was an only child, so he shrugged. Sarah's family kind of adopted me, but after she died, it was hard. Everything reminded them of her. I think seeing me made it worse. That must have been lonely. It was. He met my eyes. That's part of why I'm so grateful for Claire. For you. I didn't realize how much I missed having people. I reached across and squeezed his hand. Because I'm human, and I recognized grief when I saw it, and I wanted to offer comfort. That's what he counted on, I think. That instinct to nurture, to fix, to welcome in the wounded. By August, they were talking about moving in together. By September, he was hinting about rings. I watched my daughter glow, and I felt proud. I'd raised a woman who was careful with her heart, but brave enough to open it. Who chose someone kind, someone stable, someone with depth. The first crack appeared in October, but I almost missed it. We were having coffee at the kitchen table when David's phone rang. He glanced at it, and something flickered across his face. Annoyance, maybe, or calculation. Then he silenced it. Everything okay? Claire asked. Fine. Just a client with boundary issues. He smiled. I'll deal with it tomorrow. The phone rang again, same number. This time, he powered it off completely. Must be urgent, I said, trying to keep it light. Some people think their money makes them entitled to your evening, he said. I learned early on that you have to set limits. It made sense. Except that I'd watched him take client calls before, always with apologetic charm and efficient problem solving. This felt different. More personnel. But then Claire was telling a story about her new office manager, and David was laughing, and the moment passed. The second crack came 2 weeks later. We were planning the engagement party, yes, he'd proposed by then, on one knee in her apartment with her grandmother's ring that I'd given him my blessing to use, and David was going through the guest list. I'm keeping my sides small, he said. Mostly colleagues, a few college friends who I've stayed in touch with. No one from Sarah's family? Claire asked gently. He was quiet for a moment. I don't think they're ready for that. Seeing me with someone else? It feels disrespectful. I understand, Claire said. And she did. She'd always been good at empathy. But later, when I was rinsing wine glasses, I thought about it. 2 years seemed like enough time for a family to move past the raw grief. And if they'd been as close as he'd said Thursday dinners, that kind of adopted son relationship, wouldn't they want him to find happiness again? Unless he'd been the one to pull away. Unless the story was more complicated, I should have trusted that instinct. Should have asked harder questions. Should have done something other than tell myself I was being paranoid, that I was turning into one of those suspicious mothers who couldn't let their daughters grow up. The third crack was the hospital. We were at dinner, talking about wedding plans. Claire wanted spring, David wanted fall. They were negotiating like diplomats, and I asked about Sarah. Not intrusively, I thought. Just, where did you two get married? City Hall, actually, he said. We were young, broke. Her parents wanted a big church wedding, but Sarah thought that was ridiculous. We spent the money on a honeymoon instead. 2 weeks in Portugal? That sounds lovely. How long were you married before? I stopped, not wanting to say before she died, like I was measuring their happiness in calendar days. 7 years, he said quietly. 7 years and 4 months. She was diagnosed in year 6, ovarian cancer. We had 1 good year after diagnosis, then he shook his head. She was in the hospital for the last 3 months. I practically lived there. Which hospital? I asked. Just making conversation the way you do. He paused. Just for a second. Saint Mary's, the one on 4th Street. Oh, I know someone who works there, I said. A teacher friend's daughter is a nurse in oncology. Small world. It's a big hospital, he said quickly. I mostly dealt with the doctors. Later, though 2 days later, I was picking up prescriptions and mentioned to my friend Janet that Claire's fiance's wife had been treated at Street Mary's. Laura works in oncology, doesn't she? Maybe she knew her. Zara! Oh, I can't remember David's last name. Isn't that terrible? Morrison, Janet said. I saw it on the invitation. David Morrison. I called Laura that night. Just curious, I told myself. Just making connections. I've been in oncology at Street Mary's for 8 years, Laura said. I don't remember a Sarah Morrison as a patient, but we have a lot of people come through. She might have been before my time, or maybe on a different floor. When did she pass? 2 years ago. Late-stage ovarian cancer? Oh, Laura's voice changed. That's strange. I definitely would have remembered that. We don't get that many young women with ovarian cancer. It tends to hit older women. And late-stage patients in the last few months of life, that's the work I do. I remember almost all of them. Maybe it was a different hospital, I said. Maybe I misheard. Maybe, Laura said. But she sounded doubtful. I sat with that for 3 days, not saying anything, not wanting to be the mother who couldn't let her daughter be happy, who manufactured problems because she couldn't accept that Claire was building a life that didn't center on me. But I also kept thinking about the phone call he wouldn't answer, the family he'd cut off, the hospital he'd named too quickly. Have you met any of his friends? I finally asked Claire. Casual. Over coffee. Sure. Some of them. Alex from his office. Matt and his wife from college. Why? Just wondering. It's sweet how he's folded into our world. I want to make sure we're doing the same for him. He says it's easier this way. Less complicated. Most of his married friends were couple friends with him and Sarah. He says it's awkward now. That made sense. Except that Matt was a college friend, which meant pre-Sarah. And Alex worked with him, which was current life, not couple life. So why was it still complicated? I should have said something then. Should have voiced my concerns. Should have been the overprotective mother Claire would have rolled her eyes at, but also, maybe, listened to. Instead, I helped her plan her engagement party. The party was set for for the third Saturday in November. Claire wanted something elegant but not stuffy. The country club was her compromise, her father, and I had been members when he was alive, and I'd kept the membership because, well, inertia and the fact that their book club actually read the books. I spent the week before helping her with details. Flowers, menu, seating chart, the kind of planning that's really just an excuse to spend time together before everything changes. Are you nervous? I asked her. We were at my dining room table, addressing place cards in her careful accountant's handwriting. About the party? About marriage? She paused. A little. It's such a big thing, you know? And I keep thinking about Dad, wishing he were here to meet David. He would have liked him, I said, because it was true. David had that quality you wanted to like him. He made it easy. Do you like him? Claire asked. Direct. She'd always been direct. I could have said something then. Could have told her about the hospital, the phone call, the family he'd cut off. Could have asked her to wait, to investigate, to be sure. Instead, I said, I think he's good for you. I think he makes you happy, which was also true. Just not the whole truth. The party started at 6. I arrived early to help Claire set up, which really meant standing there while the country club staff did everything and occasionally having opinions about tablecloth placement. You look beautiful, I told her, and she did. Blue dress, hair up, that particular glow of someone who believes their life is about to get better. David arrived with his small contingent of friends. Alex, from work, who had a loud laugh and kept slapping David on the back. Matt and his wife Jennifer, Rebecca. I'd written it on the seating chart. Matt and Rebecca, college friends. Our family crowded in. Claire's cousins, my sister, old family friends who'd known her since she was tiny. Our neighbor Ted, who'd helped me change a tire once and somehow ended up on every invitation list since. My book club friends, Claire's college roommate. The usual gathering of witnesses to a life. We did the toasts around 7:30. I went first because I'd thought about this. When Claire was 4, I said, she decided she was going to marry the mailman. Not any specific mailman, just the concept of a mailman. She liked that he brought things. She liked his uniform. She liked that he knew everyone in the neighborhood. People laughed. I told her she might want to get to know him first. She said, Mom, I wave at him every day. What else do I need to know? More laughter. Claire was blushing. It turns out, quite a lot, I continued. And Claire has taken her time getting to know David. She's been careful with her heart and brave with her trust. And watching her choose him, watching him choose her has been one of the great joys of my life. To Claire and David. Everyone raised glasses. David kissed Claire. The moment was perfect. That's when the woman walked in. She came through the garden entrance, moving fast but not running. Mid-40s, dark hair pulled back, nice coat over jeans. She looked like someone who'd gotten dressed in a hurry. Her eyes were scanning the crowd, searching. When she saw David, she stopped. I watched her face change. Shock first, then something harder. Determination. David hadn't noticed her yet. He was still accepting congratulations, still holding Claire's hand, still wearing that warm smile. The woman started walking toward him. I should have done something. Called security. Intercepted her. Asked if I could help. But I was frozen, watching this stranger approach the happy couple with something terrible in her expression. She stopped 3 feet away. David. Just his name. One word. But the way she said it, like she was spitting out something rotten. He turned, and I watched his face do something I'd never seen before. Every muscle went rigid, then forced itself to relax. A performance of calm that couldn't quite hide the panic underneath. Jennifer, he said, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Her voice was shaking. Except I already know, don't I? I've been watching for months, waiting to see if you'd actually go through with it. Claire stepped closer to David. I'm sorry, who are you? Jennifer looked at her, really looked, and something in her face softened into pity. I'm his wife, she said. The room went silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that has weight. That's not possible, Claire said. His wife died. Sarah. 2 years ago. Sarah. Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. Is that what he told you? Let me guess, cancer? He likes cancer. It's sympathetic. Hard to verify. You need to leave, David said. His voice had gone flat. All the warmth drained out. Or what? You'll call security? Have them remove your legal wife from your engagement party? Jennifer reached into her purse and pulled out papers. Marriage certificate. Filed in Nevada 12 years ago. Never dissolved. Because I never signed divorce papers, David. Because you never sent any. She thrust the papers toward Claire. Claire didn't take them. She was staring at David with an expression I hope I never see on her face again. David, she said. Tell me she's lying. He didn't answer. That was the answer. We have 2 children, Jennifer continued. Her voice was steadier now, gaining strength. A daughter who's 10 and a son who's 8. They think their father is on a business trip. They've thought that for 3 years, ever since he cleaned out our savings and disappeared. That's enough, David said. Is it? Is it enough that you've done this to 4 other women that I know of? That you find vulnerable people, make them fall in love with you, take everything they have and vanish? Is it enough that I've spent 3 years tracking you across 6 states? You're mentally unstable, David said. Smooth now, recovering his composure. You've been stalking me. I have a restraining order. You have a piece of paper you filed in California using a fake address. I checked. Jennifer turned to the room. To all of us standing there, frozen. His real name is Daniel Hartley. He's wanted in 3 states for fraud. Everything he's told you is a lie. That's when David looked at me. Not Claire, me. And his eyes were different now. Cold. Assessing. You actually believed I was going to marry her. I felt Claire's hand grip my arm. Felt the ground tilt beneath us. Mom, she whispered. And I understood. He wasn't talking to Jennifer. He was talking to me. The mother who'd welcomed him in. Who'd given him her grandmother's ring. Who'd ignored every instinct, screaming that something was wrong. The ring, I heard myself say. My mother's ring, David smiled. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Already sold. Last month, needed the capital for? Well, he gestured around the room. This takes investment. Claire made a sound. Not a scream, not a sob. Something between the sound of a heart breaking in real time. You should know, David Daniel, whoever he was, said to me. She would have figured it out eventually. They always do. I just wanted to see how far it could go. How much a daughter trusts her mother's judgment. He straightened his tie. Looked around the room at 100 horrified faces. Thanks for the party. Then he walked out. Just walked out, through the garden entrance, into the November darkness. No one stopped him. I think we were all too shocked to move. Jennifer stayed. She sat with us in the country club's back office while the manager cleared the guests. And Claire cried, and I held her hand and tried to understand what had just happened. I'm sorry, Jennifer kept saying. I'm sorry it happened like this. I tried to find another way. I tried to warn you without, but he's so good at this. He would have explained it away. Turned you against me. Made me look crazy. I had to do it publicly. Had to make sure everyone saw. How did you find him? I asked. My voice sounded strange to me. Flat. Credit card activity. He's careful, but not careful enough. Uses the same grocery store loyalty card everywhere he goes. I flagged it years ago. When it pinged in this state, I started watching. Saw him with your daughter. Did some research. Found out about the engagement party. The children, Claire said. Your children. They're real? Jennifer pulled out her phone. Showed us photos. A girl with David's eyes. A boy with his smile. Both of them innocent of their father's monstrosities. I haven't told them what he really is, Jennifer said. They think he's sick. That he had to go away to get better. I don't know how to tell them the truth. How do you tell anyone the truth about something like this? Claire whispered. I didn't have an answer. I still don't. The police came. Took statements. Jennifer had documentation, years of it. Bank records, court filings, a timeline of his movements across states, the women he'd targeted, the money he'd taken. He's good, the detective said. Really good. Most romance scammers, they work online. Keep their distance. This guy, he embeds, becomes part of your life. Makes you trust him completely before he takes anything. How many others? I asked. That we know of? 6. But these types, they don't always get reported. Victims are embarrassed. Think it's their fault for being fooled. I looked at Claire, at her mascara-streaked face, her ruined evening, her shattered belief in her own judgment. It's not her fault, I said. No, ma'am. It's not. David Daniel disappeared that night. Jennifer's documentation helped, but he had a head start in practice at vanishing. The FBI got involved eventually. Financial crimes, wire fraud, the whole alphabet soup of federal charges. They caught him 7 months later in Florida, working on a widow with a beachfront property. He'd dyed his hair and grown a beard, but Jennifer's contact at the FBI recognized him from the engagement party photos that had ended up on the news. The trial took another year. I testified. Claire testified. Jennifer testified. 4 other women testified, each with the same story: the charm, the vulnerability, the slow build of trust, the sudden disappearance. He got 15 years. Not enough, Jennifer said, but something. Claire went to therapy. Joined a support group for fraud victims. Slowly, painfully rebuilt her ability to trust not men, not romance, but herself, her own judgment, her own instincts. I knew something was wrong, she told me once. That night with the phone call, I felt it. But I wanted so badly to believe. I know, I said. I felt it too. Why didn't you say anything? The question I'd been dreading. The question I'd been asking myself for months. Because I wanted you to be happy, I said. Because I was afraid of being wrong. Because mothers aren't supposed to be suspicious of the men their daughters love. But you were right. Being right doesn't help. Being right after the fact is useless. I should have said something when it mattered. When there was still time, would I have listened? I thought about it. Really thought. Probably not, I admitted. But I should have tried anyway. That's what mothers do. We say the hard things even when our daughters don't want to hear them. Claire was quiet for a while. Then she said, Jennifer tried. His wife? She tried to warn me. Before the party. Sent a message through Facebook. I thought she was crazy. Blocked her. Oh, honey, she was right about everything. And I blocked her because I didn't want to hear it. That's not your fault. He was good at what he did. He made it easy to dismiss the warnings. But I should have. Should have what? Believed a stranger over the man you loved? Run a background check on every date? Assumed everyone was lying until proven otherwise? Maybe. That's not a life, Claire. That's a prison. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it. That makes him a monster. It doesn't make you a fool, she cried then. We both did. And I held her the way I had when she was small and the world had hurt her, and I could still make it better with a hug and a cookie and a promise that tomorrow would be okay. Except now I couldn't promise that. Couldn't fix it. Could only sit with her in the wreckage and hope we'd both find our way out. Jennifer and I became unlikely friends, united by the same man's destruction, different chapters of the same terrible story. She told me things about him, about their marriage before she knew what he was, about the slow unraveling, the discovered lies, the moment she realized the man she'd loved didn't exist. He's a void, she said. There's nothing real underneath. He becomes whatever you need him to be, takes what he wants, moves on. I don't think he's capable of actual feeling, just performance. That's terrifying. It is, but it's also useful. Once you understand that, you stop looking for explanations. Stop hoping there's some trauma or reason that made him this way. He just is what he is. A predator in human clothing. Will you ever be able to trust anyone again? Jennifer thought about it. I trust myself more now. My instincts, That thing that tells you something's wrong even when everything looks right. I ignored it for years. I won't make that mistake again. How do you teach that to your children? To trust but verify? To love but protect themselves? I don't know yet. I'm figuring it out as I go. Isn't that what parenting is? Making it up and hoping you don't break them? I laughed. It felt strange laughing, but also necessary. I think that's exactly what it is. Claire called me last month, 3 years after the engagement party. She sounded different. Lighter. I'm seeing someone, she said. It's new. I don't know where it's going. But, Mom, I actually ran a background check this time. You did? I did. And I told him I was doing it. I said, I was engaged to a con artist, so I'm going to verify everything you tell me. And if that's a problem, we're not compatible. And you know what he said? What? He said, that sounds healthy. Want me to send you my references? I laughed, really laughed for the first time in a long time. I like him already. Yeah, Claire said. Me too. But slowly this time, carefully, with my eyes open. That's all any of us can do. Mom, thank you. For being there, for not saying I told you so, for letting me fall apart and helping me put myself back together. That's what mothers do, I said. Even when we fail at it. Even when we miss the signs and don't speak up and let the monsters in. We keep trying. We keep showing up. We keep loving you through the wreckage. You didn't let him in. He let himself in. He was good at it. He was. But we were better. In the end, we survived him. We did. Will it stick? Claire asked. I don't know, Jennifer said honestly. But I have to try. For my kids. So they can someday know their father faced consequences. Over the next few weeks, the story came out in pieces. Jennifer's contact broke the encryption. They found files, names, photos, bank account numbers, a database of targets across 4 states, communication with other con artists, sharing strategies. It was enough. Finally, enough. The FBI got involved. Financial fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. The charges started piling up, not just from Claire and Jennifer, but from other women, other families, other lives he devastated. He ran, of course. Used a fake passport, tried to leave the country. They caught him at the airport in Miami. The trial took 18 months. Claire didn't go. Didn't want to see him. Didn't want to give him that power. But Jennifer went to every day of it. Sat in the front row. Made sure he saw her. He got 12 years. Not enough, Jennifer said. But something. Claire used the time to rebuild. She started therapy. She joined a support group for fraud victims. She got promoted at work, then quit to start her own consulting firm. She dated again, eventually. Carefully. Slowly. I'm not sure I trust my judgment anymore, she told me once. We were having coffee at my place. Sunday morning, like old times. Your judgment was fine, I said. He was good at his job. That's not on you. I wanted so badly to believe in him. In the story. In the happy ending. That's not a character flaw, Claire. That's being human. We all want to believe in happy endings. Do you still believe in them? She asked. I thought about it. About her father, dead 6 years now. About the men who'd occasionally asked me to dinner that I'd turned down because I couldn't imagine trusting anyone new. About David, sitting in prison. About Jennifer, still fighting for justice she might never fully get. About Claire, sitting across from me. Scarred but surviving. Harder but not broken. I believe in earned endings, I said finally. I believe in the ones we build ourselves, not the ones we're sold. And I believe you're building something real now. Something he can't touch. She smiled. Just a small one, but genuine. When did you get so wise? I've always been this wise. You just never asked. That got me a laugh. A real one. It's been 3 years since the engagement party. Claire is doing well. Better than well. She's built a business she's proud of. Developed friendships that don't require perfection. Learned to spot the performance beneath the charm. Jennifer and I have coffee sometimes. Unlikely friends. bonded by the same man's cruelty. She's writing a book about financial predators, about how to spot them, how to protect yourself, how to survive when protection fails. You should write a chapter, she told me last month, about trusting your instincts even when they're inconvenient. Maybe, I said, though I'm not sure I have the authority. I doubted mine when it mattered. But you were right, she said. That matters too. You noticed. You questioned. You didn't ignore the anomalies even when it would have been easier. I didn't stop him either. You protected your daughter when it counted. That's not nothing. I think about that sometimes. About protection. About the different ways we show love. About how sometimes the best we can do is be there when the performance ends, when the mask drops, when the truth becomes undeniable. Claire asked me last week if I'd ever date again, if I'd ever let someone new into my life. Maybe, I said, if I meet someone who earns it, who doesn't need me to believe their story on faith, who's willing to be known, really known, with all the messy truth included. That's a high bar, she said. It should be. We were at the country club, of all places, having lunch. The same pavilion where her engagement party had imploded. She'd wanted to reclaim it, she said, wanted to prove it didn't own her anymore. You know what I realized? She said, picking at her salad. I spent 8 months thinking about my future with David, planning it, imagining it, building a whole life in my head, and none of it was real. But the life I'm living now, the one I didn't plan, the one that started the night he walked out, this one is real. This one is mine. I'm proud of you, I said. And I was of her resilience, her courage, her refusal to let betrayal make her small. I'm proud of us, she said. We survived him. Together. We did. And we have. We're still here. Still having Sunday dinners, still sharing coffee and conversation, still building our lives one honest day at a time. David is in prison. Jennifer is writing her book. Claire is thriving in ways she never could have when she was trying to fit herself into someone else's story. I still teach English sometimes, as a volunteer at the community college. I still battle with my phone's operating system updates. I still have moments where I wonder if I'll ever trust my instincts fully again, or if David's deception will always leave me questioning. But mostly, I'm learning to live with the truth that people are complicated, that charm can hide cruelty, that the stories we're sold aren't always the stories we should buy, that protection isn't about preventing pain entirely, it's about being there when the pain comes, about helping each other survive it, about building something real on the other side. If you're listening to this and some part of it feels familiar, if you've doubted yourself, if you've dismissed your instincts because you wanted so badly to believe, if you've been the mark in someone else's performance, I want you to know something. It wasn't your fault. The person who deceived you was skilled at deception. That's what they do. That's who they are. Your trust wasn't foolishness. It was hope. And hope isn't something to be ashamed of. But going forward, trust the anomalies. Trust the moments that don't quite add up. Trust the questions your gut asks, even when your heart wants different answers. And if you have a daughter or a friend or a sister or anyone you love and something feels wrong about the person they're choosing, say something. Maybe they won't listen. Maybe they'll tell you you're being paranoid, but say it anyway. Because sometimes all we need is one person willing to see past the performance. One person willing to notice what doesn't fit. One person willing to show up with the truth, even when the truth destroys the pretty story. Jennifer did that for Claire. And maybe in some small way, I did too. That's enough. That has to be enough. Thank you for listening, for letting me share this, for being the kind of person who hears a story like this and doesn't just move on to the next distraction. The world needs more people like you. People who pay attention, who notice, who care about the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Take care of yourself. Trust your instincts. And if you see something that doesn't add up, say something. You might just save someone's life. Or, at the very least, their grandmother's ring.